Welcome to Dyson Sphere Program. My name is Nilas, and this is a tutorial on how to make everything in the entire game. Right, see, that was, now I got your interest. So if you have been watching my previous tutorials, and I strongly encourage you to do, I'm trying to make a consistent theme so that they fit together. That of course means that when I release one, then it's natural to go like, yeah, but where's the rest of the story? Here is the rest of the story, at least to a large extent. So what we're looking at right now is the hub that I provided last time, which is an extension of my jumpstart base. So basically at the start of the game, you build the jumpstart base. As you progress, get your first interstellar logistics stations. You expand it so that you have these materials available. But the first thing that then comes to mind, what about all the other things? Well, that's where I want to build the next part. This is not necessarily sort of later on. You probably should start building this one, expanding your jumpstart base to this build at about the same time as you have the interstellar logistics stations, so that you can also build the next part. So here is that's the other part of it. If you haven't watched it, if you don't know what this is, these are sort of some of the main things that you're going to be using here. The logistics part, belts, inserters, belt sorters and assemblers. Here it's all the other weird things that you need. But there's still a lot of things missing. So let's have a look at that. I have prepared a space at the top of the world. This is now also again connected to the that's funny how that one's there. This is connected to the polar hub that I have set up in previous episodes, in a previous tutorial. So also related to that, basically at any given location, any planet in my galaxy, I always set up the Temple of Effectiveness, the polar hub on the North Pole, so that I can just bring in everything. But in order for me to bring in everything, I need to be producing everything. And that's what we're going to do here. So I have reserved some space here. This space is something you're going to be having at one location and one location only. My recommendation would be obviously build it on your home planet, because you'll most likely bring everything back to your home planet just so you can build things there and tech up. So on the home planet, that's where I would recommend putting it. So let's start by discussing what this is going to be. And so I have done quite a bit of work on the designing, because I want this design to be as simple as possible. We don't have blueprints, so you're going to have to sort of pause the video to see how I do this. Or I hopefully have done it so simple that you can actually copy it. So the first thing we want to do is I want to show you where we have these. If you remember the Polar Hub video, then the locations for the stations here is this one. On the inner one with 2, nope, it's not. Yeah, it is, isn't it? I think it's this one. And then on the first one with first band here, with between the fault line there and the fault line there, the first one with 3 should be the first location, and then that's the first location replacement. Place it 1 out. But that's not where we're going to build it here for our central hub, make everything hub. We're actually going to make it into the outer band that has 3 tiles. So this one has 3 squares, 1, 2, 3, and then there's a fault line and a fault line, and then there's another one with 3, 1, 2, 3, and then it goes into 5, and then 5, and then 8, and then 16. All right. So familiarize yourself with that. I'll have another tutorial on that soon. But that means this is going to be the location right here. And the reason why I want this location is specifically, if I now put it in this one and I go, oh, I should actually do it from the outside. I think it's easier. Then I count the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the closest I can make it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. Now it is exactly repeating pattern all the way around. So what you have here is now you have 4 within a quadrant, and that means 16 in total. So you can have 16 here, and that will exactly correspond to all the items we want to make. They will be combined with the previous hub, so that you now can make everything that you need to make in the game. Pretty cool, huh? But before I set up the remainder on this one, the perimeter, let's actually just set up the power as well, because as part of me preparing this, I had to tear down the power. So it's really important that you get the power up and running. I will get that one here. It's still not consistent. These are closer than that one. I think I actually don't want it there. Yeah, I'll show you. All right, so we get one more. This will be in the middle, in here. And this will be exactly like we do on our polar hub, because, well, it's pretty good. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start requesting something. In this case, I'm building this towards the end game, but you can also do ray receivers, you can do fusion power, you can do whatever you have available. You don't have to make your power around this location, but for me, this space is rather useless at this point, so I might as well use it for sort of a building power plant here. So I am going to do, yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. We'll just do local demand. I think I have something here. And I do not. Then I'll do that one. Okay, so that's going to be the middle one. And then I do this part here. Make sure that I have it powered. I do these 4 here, not because they are by any means necessary, but because it looks good. All right, so I'm going to take this out and we get the power. Again, this is for the late game. If you don't have this at the time of creating, build something else. You can build it for fusion power. You can build it for whatever you like. But it's I want to build it in sort of the final form, and then we can have a look at how I want to build it. Now I'm also going to do use the mod called Copy Inserter. I would go so far as to say if you're not using that mod, then stop what you're doing now, download it, come back and watch the rest of the video. It's an absolute must-have. And maybe you watch this much later when this is already part of it. What it does is it just makes sure that when you copy an entity, it also copies the sorters as well. And we can now take this one, and this part here will generate 1600 megawatts of power, which is nice. It's nice, but you want your entire base running on this, so let's make sure we have enough. Yeah, that's a bit of a thing here. So I'll just build another one around here. See, that's why this one's not allowed to be at that location. I knew it. There. And that's built because out here as well, you can actually see that you can build it aligned with the inner one, but there's a space in between as well. So that means you get a total of 24 of these. And what is 24 of those giving you? It's giving you 1.8 gigawatts of power, which should be enough to fuel pretty much any base you could imagine. I certainly haven't had any issues with fueling my main base with 1.8 gigawatts of power. So when we have all of this, you have now the power setup. That's pretty simple. So let's just build out here. What we need to do here is make sure that we have our power set up to this part, and we have all of these locations. Let's set that up. So now we built the absolute minimum in terms of infrastructure. We have everything going all the way around here. We have power poles. If you just want to look at how I've put it, I put it here, and then I put it right here on the side. It's actually 2 from the corner and 2 from the corner. The reason why I want these to be open and available, and that's where we're going to go next. So now we have 16 locations, and those 16 locations I have to be there. There's a basic formula for how to set it up, and then from there on there is a few variations. We're going to start by just setting up one of them so that you can see the general principle. So we're going to start by just setting each interstellar logistics station is feeding one assembler. That's it. Because these are the things that you just need to just work gradually. You don't need them in stupidly high quantities. If you do, you build a production line for it. But you just want it to sort of chug along, and when you need something from setting up a new base, you'll have it. So here I'm going to start with, just arbitrarily, I'm going to start with solar. The reason why I'm going to start with solar is because solar is also the one that I have designated to have warpers. So we might as well start with this one. So let's, what we do is we have to figure out copper, silicon, and circuits. All right, so we take, copper, silicon, circuits, and in this case, only in this case, we also do warpers, put some logistics stations, some drones, and some logistics vessels in. You do not need as many of these. If they are at the time of creation expensive, then I would recommend putting maybe 2 vessels and maybe 10 logistics drones. At this point, I just fill them up because it's easier to fill them up than to sort of sort it out. But I would say put at least 2 vessels in, and at least 10 logistics drones. That should be the minimum you'd want in here. So we can now take the things out. They are just going to be on very short belts here. Here, each of the 3 inputs. Now, something you might have noticed is that with these locations, you can only have, and we also need the output here. You can only have 4 inputs and 1 output. In this case, we are also having an extra one because it's one of those. So what about the items that require 5? We'll get to those. But that means that you can also have a third one out here. I'm going to show that afterwards. So now the tempting thing, which is absolutely incorrect, and it's something I found out. If you just basically take it and lead it back, for example, like this, and just lead it back in here. Well, what you're going to get is now that this one will just fill up. And if I say, yeah, you know what, I want to make sure that I have enough solar panels. If you, for example, like solar panels, then you can build solar panels. So you want to have maybe 1,000 or 2,000 because you want to find a planet you want to just spam it down. But maybe you don't want to request always 1,000 of these. You always want to request just 100 at a time and 200 at a time. So what you need to do is the amount you set here is the amount that you want to be brought to any station. No more, no less. So in this case, I might say, you know what? No matter what station I'm at, I really don't want to bring in more than 200. Maybe if I need 1,000, I don't mind that there's going to be 5 flights here. But I don't want to have any little station where I say I'd like a few solar panels and then suddenly I get 1,000 solar panels. Because the way it works, and this is quite important, you set the minimum load of the vessel. I will always set it to 10% because at the end game you will, and you quite easily reach that. These vessels can carry 1,000, so 10% means 100. That means they will leave the station here when there is 100. But when they leave, they will take everything. So for example, if you have 1,000 and you set it to minimum 100 and you set the requester station at a polar hub at the other end of the galaxy, you set that to say, yeah, give me 100. I'd like 100 solar panels on this little planet just because it's nice. Then you will get all 1,000 brought there because it is the minimum load of the vessel, but the vessel will fill up with what it can. Solar panels, not a big deal, but let's pretend that we're talking about something like artificial suns. You don't want more than 100 brought anywhere. Even that is a lot. But if you, for example, have this set to 1,000 here, then even if you request 100, you're going to be getting 1,000 at that destination location. And that is not a good, that's a bit of a waste of resources. So here you set it to the amount that you think you want. You always want a minimum to each planet. So in this case, maybe 200, maybe 400, depends. 400 is will supply most planets for mining operations and some light industry. So that's going to be here. Then you set up some whatever requesters you feel is reasonable. I would say something like this. If you just request it locally, we're just requesting it locally like this. I'm obviously not going to set up everything, but we're going to set up a few of them so that you can see the idea. This is providing locally and providing remotely. Then in this special case, we are also going to request the warpers. So now that we have identified an issue, let's identify also the solution. The solution is quite simply to make a little box. So I'm going to set everything into a box. We're going to bring these things in. I'm going to set it into a box. And I'm going to make sure that, and this is maybe a bit overkill, but I want to go here. Yeah, I don't mind doing that. I actually do mind doing that. I very much mind doing that. There. The idea here is now you can set this one to whatever you like. This also means that if you happen to have some in your inventory, you can come back and throw them in here and then they'll be available. So maybe you want to say, okay, you know what? For solar panels, I actually want to have a big stockpile, even though I only want to request 400, because you never know, maybe you want more of that. And now this one is enabled and it works. It's awesome. No problems at all. What we're going to do now is we are going to do the warpers, because every single station needs warpers. So you're going to bring it out here. And in my previous one, I was using this one, this is the number 5 and number 6. Why are there 2 with warpers? Because this is number 5 and that is number 6. So there's a dedicated one for warpers. If you, and this is a really good comment in saying, if you use this one, then actually it will empty the warpers that are allocated to this tower first. If you use this number 5, then it will export from this one and not from that one. That means it won't sort of leech its own warpers and send those out into the network. So this one will just go all the way. Come on. Oh, okay, it's because it's somehow weirded out. Yep. So here, but in this case, we are going to say number 6 and go onwards. What this means is that every single one will now be filling up with warpers. If I could do this properly. Here, and they'll pass them on. There is one important note about this. Once I remember to do this. There's one important note about this one, and it's here. That is, once you go back, once you get all the way to this one, don't hook it up. Let's just do it. So now that we're all the way around, it's tempting to complete the circle, but there's really no point in having this one fill all the way around and go back in here. Even worse than that, it actually means that if you feed it all the way around, then it will never fill up in any of these until it starts jams, because it'll just pass them on to the next one. So take it all the way around minus the last part. So let's talk about some of the other ones, because there are variations here on this pattern that don't really fit. I am going to take this one here, and I'm going to take another one here and another one here. The idea of this pattern is that it is so simple to make that you can easily just look at this and go, I can build it in my own game. If I was doing something advanced with ups and downs and overs and unders and all that stuff, then it would be no way for you to replicate it easily. And this is all about sort of making you able to do this. Well, what if we want to make something such as the particle collider? You can see it has 5 inputs. And if I take 5 inputs here, then where am I going to get the outputs from? This one, let's see if I can remember this. So it's titanium alloy frames and, okay, what was it? It was titanium alloys, it was frame material, and then it was graphene, and then it was processors, and then it was the particle collider. That was what. All right, so we're just missing one, unfortunately. The one we're missing is the supermagnetic ring. There's another one that is also causing issues, and that is there are only these 2 that have 5 inputs. Ray receiver. All right, so let's see if I can remember this one. Steel. That's not a steel. Steel, silicon. And now I can't remember anymore. Photon combiner and processor. Hello, autosave. Yep, that's half a gigabyte of autosaving. Thank you very much. Photon combiner and processor, and then the ray receiver outbound. Again, I have forgotten that I needed one more thing. That was the super magnetic ring. So what I could do quite easily, just take another thing that takes that also needs the superconducting super magnetic ring, such as this one, but doesn't have too many outputs either. That one here. The satellites, it has some, these ones, wireless power tower, that's built in our previous hub. And then it has the super magnetic ring, that one, and what's the one more thing? Oh yeah, frame materials. Frame, good. All right, so let's build this one so we get a sense of what it is. Fill up these first, otherwise you can forget about what what you're supposed to get here. And super magnetic ring, and here we have the frame materials, and I will have, nope, that one. Come on, build it so it makes sense there. Okay. And I'm going to complete this here. Let's actually make it complete. So I don't want very many of these. I don't want very many of these. I don't want very many of these. I do want a few of these. Again, you can take less if you like. All of this is something you have to make sure is available on your planet, obviously. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And how many do I want? Well, I don't want more than 100 local and global supply. Good. I'm going to get the belt here. There. And I'll actually take this out. Couldn't I just copy it from here with the copy inserter mod? Just to show you how awesome it is. See, then it puts in the inserters as well. And then this one I'd go, you know what, if I have 100, then I don't really need any more. Are you building what you need? No, you're not, because I don't have this brought in yet. 1, 2, and 3. That's good. It's chugging along, it's working, it's good. Now I need to make the other ones. So this one have 4 items, and let's get those items in. We're not going to do all of them, don't worry. But we're going to do the ones that sort of deviate from the norm, because that's the ones that will be a bit in question. And then I take that one as the last input. Here. In, and in. That one goes out here. And then I get output, and in this case, particle colliders. Yeah, I don't want more than what I need in here. I will also set up these again. I really don't need a lot of these things. These are things that they just gotta be slowly building up to something, and certainly that's the most important one to make sure. Get here. And you can see they already have warpers in because that's already being provided. So I'll demand local and make sure that we disable the other one. There. Okay, but we're still not done. So what I'm gonna do now on this one is I'm gonna steal an extra output here. That one. It's that simple. I actually think this one is gonna end up being too close. Let me just check. I think this one will not like it. Yeah, it's not gonna like it. Also from the middle, it's not gonna like it. It's too close. No, it is. It's fine. Good. Here, so you go, ha. Okay, you can do this as you like, but if you want to do it right, you find a way where it's a straight line. There. So now you can see this one is working. It's just going to steal from this one, and that might be a case for you to say, you know what, I just did just a bit more. And then, of course, you can do the same on the other side. Let's see here, super magnetic. Find a place where you can drag it in a straight line, for example here, and bring it into that one. And I'm also going to set this one up. This one is all the remaining. Oops. And again, we are doing this in a few times so that you can see how easy it is and how much it's just absolutely the same every single time. And inputs. 1, 2, 3, 4 output here. And again, let's just make sure that we get the inputs here. Just again, set them down as low as possible. Maybe not 1000. This one also very low. Oops. There. Everything is coming in. That's good. And I'm just meeting the output, the return here. 1, 2, and this one I'll cap down to there. So there are a few things you have to remember. You set up the stuff in here, inputs, outputs, you put in drones, you put in logistics vessels, you set all of these to 10% here, and there's a bit of a checklist here. And you set all these, you set this one to however much you want as a buffer outside of what you provide, usually not much. And then you just basically build all of them. There are a few other ones. Let me just show you all of the ones that, the names of the ones that you want to build here. But we're not going to hook them up. We can always come back to that. So that's the planetary logistics. Then we want the interplanetary logistics, obviously. And then while we are at it, let's do the next one, which will be the orbital logistics. So those are now done. The next one that I want is the drones. I still copy that one. Drones is another important one. However, drones require thrusters. So what I'm doing is I'm just going basically and saying, yeah, just make the thrusters next to us, because the thruster is only used for one thing and one thing only. Right, so this one will actually get copper and steel, because that's what goes in here, and then plus iron and processors. Iron here and processor. Yeah, so once you have that, it's just as simple as... Come on, why is that not the case? How can that one not work? There we go. Just have to be a bit closer. See? It's important. This one, copper goes in. This one, steel goes in. And then it goes into the next one. This one will have just 2 inbounds, which needs to be, and there it is. Iron, and the other one, processor. And then the rest is simple for this one. Then we go on to the next one, which is heavy thrusters. Heavy thrusters are used for 2 things. They're used for the orbital power, the reinforced thruster. It's used for the orbital collector, and it's used for the logistics vessels. So you have to make sure that it's provided to the network. It's not like the normal thrusters, which don't use for one thing. And then naturally, since we have the thrusters, let's do the logistics vessels. After logistics vessels, what is the next thing? That's going to be, well, now we start on some of the production plants that we haven't built yet. Fractionators, they're good. Exchangers, again, just let's look at it and just say, as long as it's 4, there's not really a problem at all with getting anything in here. Then let's get another one. That's ray gun. Now this one is interesting. You will most likely not have gears in your network. So the answer is, like we did for the drones, we are simply going to get gears in, and then instead of requesting gears, we request iron, bring in the iron, bring it in here. Easy peasy. There's so few things that we need iron that it are gears, that all the things that make gears are already included in the hub that I have built here. But ray guns just didn't fit into this one. So all of these, a lot of these actually require gear, but once you get a bit higher up, you don't really request gears at all. And then after the ray guns, it makes sense to go on into the rocket silos. And of course, by the time you build this, you'll probably leave a lot of these empty. And what do we have? Then we have, like, very late game, the sun, and also the last one could be, for example, the fusion power if you want that. Where is the fusion power? It's that one. So we now have all 16 of these built. I am just going to show you what it looks like when everything is up and running, so that you can get a good sense of how it works. So here we have the completed hub. This is the make everything location, and everything is operational and working and beautiful and cool. And you can see here, what I've done is, for example, I am putting 200 in, because no matter where I am, I said I'm going to request some, and I'm probably always going to make at least 200. But I know these ones is something that if you start building a lot of mining supplies, you want to have some extra. So as soon as the 200 are being requested, like so, for example, then it will very, very quickly fill up from the belt. Actually at 30 per second, almost at least. And then it'll be easily ready to send out another ship again. Likewise, this one is also something where I keep another 100 in stack, because again, that's something we might want to have enough additional stockpile because it takes so long. You could also argue that you could do it for some of the things that take very long time to build, such as logistics, interplanetary logistics. But then again, if you bid 100, you're probably going to be fine for a while. So let's take a step back, literally maybe. Let's take a step back and talk about how these tutorials fit together. The jumpstart base gets you started. The second hub gets you available some of the materials. This one gets you the rest of the materials you need for all the rest of the buildings are now available from your core home planet to be sent out everywhere. And then the polar hub, the temple of effectiveness, to be built on every single planet you go to, will mean that you now have everything available anywhere in the galaxy, if you've been following these tutorials along. And that's just setting you up for just incredibly easy expansion. because you can go to a planet and you can build it as a mining outpost, and then suddenly you start adding industry and more industry, and you need power and you need everything, and then suddenly, and you just have it. You just have it ready. Not a problem. So I hope that you are enjoying this tutorial, find it useful so that you can put it into your own base if you feel like it. I would strongly recommend building this at the North or the South Pole. I would choose normally the North Pole, but whoop, someone has already built something there in my base, just for consistency's sake. But you build it on one of the hubs, one of the poles, because you can't really use the poles for good industrial buildings, so just use it for this part. Also, so it's consistent with the polar hubs and all the other facilities. So, if you have enjoyed it, hit the like button, share it with friends, family. Your grandma is probably not aware of this beautiful, so do share it as well. If you want to see more tutorials, let me know in the comment section below what you would like to see. And also, if you have not subscribed, then hopefully I have enticed you to subscribe to the channel for more tutorials and Let's Plays of Dyson Sphere Program and lots of other games. Last thing I want to say is I have a number of additional tutorials lined up, and I'll be sort of drip feeding them out so that you can get them and implement it into your own base over the next, I don't know, couple of weeks or so. How many we have ideas for. There are lots of good ideas, and do keep sharing them with me. Last thing I want to say is I do also have a Patreon, so if you feel like supporting the channel and the work I do, then Patreon is the best way to do that. So thank you to all the people who've been supporting me on Patreon so far. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, take care and stay effective.